Oh, give me a rum and over. They ought me down the door. We will roam the country over, and together we'll face the world. There are sober men aplenty, and drunkards barely 20. There are men over 90 who have never yet kissed a girl. But give me a rum and over. They ought me down the Dover. We will roam the country over, and together we'll face the world. There are those who claim enjoyment from merciless employment. Their ambition was this deployment since the moment they left the school. And they bite and beg and plunder, while the others go out and squander. See the world and rove and wonder, and are happier as a rule. There are sober men aplenty, and sober men aplenty. There are men over 90 who have never yet kissed a girl. But give me a rum and over. They are down the Dover. We will roam the country over, and together we'll face the world. No, it's a shorts live. Dude, I do the shorts live because YouTube prioritizes them in the algorithm. And as long as I don't fucking piss off their, which I've probably already done by saying piss in the first 5 minutes of the stream, but whatever, dude. If I don't anger their algorithm gods, I can ride like a pretty crazy algorithmic wave, and that's how my channel has been so successful in the last few months. So that like these shorts lives are the lifeblood of my channel right now. So I do a ton of them. But that's just because that's what YouTube algo fucking prioritizes. If they started prioritizing landscape streams again, I would switch to those in a heartbeat, but they don't. So this is what I do for now. When I start doing long form content again, which hopefully will happen soon, I just, like, honestly, guys, I keep teasing you guys with long form content soon. Can I just confess what the real fucking problem is? I don't like how I sound right now when I record inside. And I frankly don't like how I sound when I record myself with my phone either. My phone does not have like the most quality, like super amazing microphone on it. It's not like the most top of the line freaking thing that was ever built. So I don't like how it sounds. I'm just limited on the ways I can like record myself right now and have it sound anywhere like decent. And that has made me reticent to try like making new things in the manner of like long form content, because I feel like it's one thing for a live to have like, especially like a vertical live, you know, I feel like there's a lower standard of quality expected for these. Like, you're not supposed to be the best and brightest and most sleek creator ever on these. They're meant to be a more IRL kind of thing, you know, more chill, laid back experience. But you know, I'm not trying to do that necessarily if I'm trying to make long content that I expect people to watch that might be like an hour long or something. And some of the stuff that I want to make will be way longer than an hour long. I want to make a whole expose series about the United States relationship with the Middle East as a whole, kind of using our relationship with Israel as like a frame, but also kind of like contextualizing it in the broader history of the Middle East. And that, I know, just from the concept I have in my head, is going to be at least a 4-hour long kind of mini series. So there's some shit I really want to do that I don't feel super comfortable doing until I have a better setup. Make sure you guys hit that like button as you're coming in, by the way. It really does help. Every single time you hit that like button is another chance to send this even more people, which increases the quality of your viewing pleasure by increasing the number of people engaging in the chat. It's the best way that you can increase the watchability of this shit. Enable more people to argue with me or to talk to me or whatever, you know? But do yourself that favor. And it's a favor to me too. I'm not going to lie. I love lives because they're so raw and like unhinged. So I don't care if you switch to like real videos or just stay on lives. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people don't. I mean, I'll have a lot of people that just stay over here. But the great thing about having these vertical lives going is that hopefully in the future, you know, whenever I've got lots of people going on in here, I can use those to kind of like throw some people over at the long form content once that starts to come out. 4-hour long miniseries? Yes. Well, I don't know if it I don't know what you would call it. I don't know what it's going to be, but it's going to be a 4 or 5 part video series on you know, like starting with the Middle East kind of history from an ancient standpoint and going through its various different relationships and shit, and then starting to kind of set the stage with modern relations, right? Because like the modern history of the Middle East is a very different story than the ancient history of the Middle East, and pretty much everything that's happened to the Middle East in the last 100 years has had the West's boot print on it. And I think that that's something that just in itself is well worth taking a really close look at, and a lot of people have. But I want to take a look at it from the lens of what has this region gone through? Because I want to answer some of the questions that people will bring up about the Middle East and some of the points that people will try and make about the Middle East. People will claim that the Middle East has been fighting for the last 2,000 years. I mean, there are certainly regions where it's been very difficult to establish any kind of government, but my understanding is that that's not the entire region. Areas of the Middle East where it's too mountainous to really administer things easily, but even then, there have been times of peace, you know? There's this argument that people over there are just inherently tainted in some way with some kind of violent or anti-Semitic intent. I don't know that that's necessarily true, but I've also heard some people that I consider to be pretty smart make some pretty compelling arguments that there might be anti-Semitism baked into, if not the Quran, then at least the Hadiths, right? And that's something I want to examine as well. You know, I want to examine kind of like the faith of this region and how it has played into its history, including its modern history, but also its ancient history. Not exactly its ancient history, but, you know, it's like the last 2,000 years of its history or whatever. I want to examine all these things. I want to correlate them, and then I want to come away with a little bit more knowledge, but I also want to come away with an answer to my question, which is, can we fix the Middle East? Or are we just better off finding resources elsewhere and allowing the Middle East to be kind of like a separatist region of the planet that just doesn't cooperate with the rest of the world? You know, like what is the answer to the problem of our continued involvement in this region? That's what I want to come away with, like a clear answer on what can be done. What are our options? I at least want to propose a few. You can just call me a faggot. Like, I'm not gonna get offended, number one, because like I don't give a shit, and number two, I don't think it's actually blocked by any of the word filters, so you can just kind of like call me that, and I really don't give a fuck. I know it would make your day if I would just go like, but I'm not gonna. We need to fix the flag. Yeah, take out all the southern states. Take out all the stripes that represent southern states. Replace them with pictures of animals or something. Make sure you guys hit that like button, by the way. There's almost 90 people watching. If half of you guys hit that like button right now, that would be 45 likes instantly. So double tap your screen right now. You're more likely to get timed out for spamming than saying faggot. Yeah, 100%. You're way more likely to get timed out for spamming than you are for saying faggot. Timmy, you don't know what you are, bro. You're just trolling. That's what you are. You ain't got no investment in this shit. You don't give a fuck. You're probably bi as the fucking day is long. You're probably as bisexual as they come. I got your number, Timmy. Did World War III start yet? Oh, if we could only be so lucky, right? No. Luckily for us, actually, if I'm being unironical, World War III I don't think is actually that close to starting, but goddamn. Does it feel like it sometimes? Yes. It sure does feel like it sometimes. You just look at the different signs and it's like, things are getting kind of tense. Are they not? Things are getting tense. It's just I can't help but feel that way. Like, these peace talks with Russia have fallen through. There's no fucking deal coming out of that shit. There's no foreseeable end to the fighting there. It could escalate at any time into an even broader conflict. It could start to involve nukes at any time, because we're talking about two nuclear-armed nations, the United States engaging in proxy war with Russia through the Ukraine, and then Russia with its own stockpile of nukes on the other side. So you've got that angle, right? And then you've got Israel, and it's not like Hamas and fucking Palestine, they pose no fucking danger to Israel, let alone the international community. But What this genocide poses a harm to is everybody in that region, as other countries start to think, can we allow this shit? Does, like, at what point does this justify us intervening on the behalf of the Palestinians? Like, at what point does this justify us coming together as a force of United Nations or something like that and deciding, Israel, we don't give a shit. You're in the minority here. You're being invaded with a peacekeeping force until you can learn how to live with your neighbors or something like that. You know, so there's another angle at which things could pop off. I mean, there's all kinds of countries right now talking about recognizing Palestine at the upcoming UN summit. Who knows where that goes, right? I mean, that could go in a way that allows Palestine to be fully and officially recognized as a state. That's going to allow certain countries that are going to want to ally with them. That's going to justify those countries stepping in on Palestine's fucking behalf. So shit could pop off. Shit really fucking could pop off. I mean, shit's not as seemingly likely to pop off as it was back in the middle of summer, you know, like in the middle of summer, or in the kind of beginning, I guess, more or less. But like, I really thought the Shah of Iran was about to be reinstalled. I thought all kinds of crazy shit was about to be coming to the world stage, and I was wrong about that. But I still fucking feel like it's going to be within my lifetime, and probably within the next 10 years, that shit starts to get shaken up in a big way on this planet. Is that going to involve a massive fucking, like a World War III kind of war? I don't know. Is that going to involve just a bunch more wars that are just smaller ones? That, like, I don't know, but shit's getting shaken up on this planet. The balance of power is shifting. I can feel it in the water. I can smell it in the air. Sick haircut? Thanks. Estoy perdidismo? Well, I don't know what that means, but right on. I'm a trans femme girl in the U.S. This place turns more fascist and less financially stable by the day. I hope to keep fundraising for Trans Lifeline and move to Finland. F this country, especially right now. No, I totally agree with you when it comes to just like this thing here in America. There's really no way to state it either, right? Whether you're looking at civil rights, America's got a horrible track record on those, and right now is doing really fucking badly in that region. If you're looking at economic stability, America's doing horribly in that. Most people my age, and even like older, most people from my age to about 50 can't really afford to buy a house. There are a lot of boomers these days that couldn't afford to buy a house, like unless they sold their existing house and fucking, like, that's like the only feasible way that they could do it, you know. But like, I don't know, it's just shit is fucking hairy here, you know. Things are not looking great for the American empire, and I think more and more people are starting to realize that. Lose some weight? I actually have. Over the last year, I've lost 45 pounds. Turn away from the sinful lifestyle? How about you turn away from the sinful Bible that you're reading? Dude, I won't presume to tell them to grow up, but if they're going to tell me to stop living the way I want to live because their religious leader demands it, I'm going to tell them to step away from their religious leader because their religious leader is filling them with all kinds of hateful, bigoted lies about other people that they don't need to listen to and are disempowered by. By the way, there's 215 people watching, right? Like, you guys should hit that like button. If half of you guys hit that like button right now, we would be sitting at 107 or 108 likes instantly on top of the 12 we've already got. So double tap your screen. It takes nothing, it costs nothing, and it's a great way to support the channel. And if you want to make sure your question gets read or your comment gets answered, consider sending a super chat. The chat goes by pretty quickly here. I do try to read what I can. I try to look for interesting answers and questions and things like that, but I can't catch every single one. So feel free to send a super chat if you want to make sure that that happens, because I read every single one, as long as it doesn't violate TOS. So I won't call for the murder of a politician because you paid me, but short of that, happy to read your super chat. Nah, Jesus doesn't love this thing. Good. I don't believe in the capacity of Jesus as the divine anyway. I think Jesus was a cool teacher, but a cool teacher does not the Son of God make. I'm tired about the religious thoughts. How about you supposed to be? I'm sick of it too. But these people are never going to get sick of it. I mean, there are just certain people that feel like their religious belief gives them license and title to not just make fun of other people, but to literally condemn them. In their mind, they have the right to tell me that I'm going to hell, when the Bible tells them, "Let he who is without sin cast the first stone." The Bible tells them that judgment is the place of Jesus. The Bible tells them that condemnation is the place of God, the Father, and Jesus, the Son. But that's not what they want to practice. That's what they want to preach in the pulpits, but that's not the way they want to actually live. They want to look at people like me and condemn me to hell as if there's some authority on the matter, as if they know the heart of Jesus Christ. Hire a better barber? I don't go to a barber, bro. I don't even go to a salon because I don't trust these deep south salons to give a trans girl a proper haircut. Oh man. Owie. Owie, owie. I like the haircut? Well, thanks. Are you okay? Yeah, I'm fine. Oh man. Okay, well the chat's going by super quickly, so hold on one second. Let me turn the chat into something a little bit more readable for everybody. We'll make the participant mode any level of subscriber. We'll do a 30-second slow mode. And once again, if you feel like your question is getting ignored, it's not. But if you want to make absolutely sure that it doesn't get passed over, consider sending it in super chat. I read every single one, as long as it doesn't violate TOS. So if you feel like your question's not getting answered or it's being skipped over or whatever, send it in a super chat. You will 100% get an answer. You can also unlock the guitar for $5 or more if you explicitly say that that's what you want, but you have to specify that. Hi, welcome. I would call myself like a friend to Jewish people. I'm definitely like harshly critical of anti-Semites and shit. I think that it's really important that people make a distinction between the Jewish people and the state of Israel, because I think that the lack of that distinction occasionally causes hatred to spread farther than it ought. I am fucking I'm fucking, I don't know. What is the opposite of anti-Semite? Like pro-Semite? Like pro-Semitic? I don't know. I'm fiercely defensive of like the Jewish people as a people, and I separate them from the actions of the Israeli state. As a Jew, we don't want you. Well, you guys don't even want converts, so. As far as I know, like at least I'll tell you this much. I don't know that the Jewish I don't know that Jews aren't looking for converts, but I'll tell you this much: I've known quite a few Jews in my life, and I've never had any of them invite me to a synagogue with anything other than the idea that, I said I wanted to go, and so they're like, I can them against the rules about it. Like, come on, it'll be fun. Just I'm anti-Zionist. I'm pro-Jew, anti-Zionist. I don't like the idea of Israel, but that's mostly because I don't like how Israel was done. I honestly think that there's probably a land deal or some kind of arrangement that could see a Jewish homeland return to that land and also see the human rights of Palestinians preserved. I don't know why those two things can't happen in unison. Jews and Arabs lived there for thousands of years at one time. Why can't they again? And I never get a good answer to that, ever. You know what the closest thing I get to an answer on that is? The Arabs are savages, which is exactly what my fucking white-ass ancestors said about the fucking Native Americans. I don't buy it. I don't buy it. Zionists are a weird limbo between Muslims and Christians while hating both. Maybe I get what you mean there. I don't know though. I'm 14 and I really want to know what started your transgender journey. Well, I mean, honestly, if you're 14, you probably shouldn't be like watching this kind of content because it's not meant for kids. And I say adult things here. We talk about adult topics, and ultimately, I cannot stop you from watching. But you probably shouldn't be interacting in the chat because people are going to be weird to you. So, but that being said, I don't believe there's anything inherently explicit about my journey as a trans woman or about the experience of trans people. I don't believe there's anything lurid or lewd about that, so I can talk about that with you. I don't care to, or I don't mind to, I should say. I don't care to. Why? Why does that come so naturally to my head if that's not the right phrase? Anyway, you get what I'm trying to say, right? I don't, like, it's fine. We can talk about this particular topic, but, like, that disclaimer has to be said, okay? With all that out of the way, what did you say? What started it? You lost 10 viewers. Turn off sub only. Oh, just you wait. We'll be back up there. What started your trans journey? It's hard to say what exactly started because, like, do I cite the earliest examples of me knowing that I was a woman inside but not being able to express it openly, or do I cite the first time I ever learned about transgenderism as a concept, which was when I learned about Leela Alcorn? So I guess that would be what I would have to cite, right? So I always had an inkling that I was trans, but I didn't know the verbiage for it until I was like 17 or 18. No, I would have been younger than that, 15 or 16, actually. And I learned about Leela Alcorn. She was a trans woman who killed herself due to a complete lack of support from her parents or her social structure. She just didn't have, like, that backing of support. And in fact, people were actively hateful to her in her life. And she decided to take her own life. And that was horrible. And, learning about her informed me a lot about my own condition because it was like, oh my God, this is how I feel. I didn't know people had this option. I didn't know this was a thing. The more I learned about it, the more I realized that not only was it a thing, it's a thing that's been happening in American history, much less world history, for decades, for centuries, for thousands of years in some cases. There are civilizations that have records of gender non-conforming people going back fucking eons. So it's just crazy to think about how erased trans people are from history, but the more I learned about trans people, the more, I guess, comfortable I felt kind of exploring it as a real option for my identity, because I thought, like, that would make me feel whole. And it has, It took a lot, though. It took a lot of, like, experimentation with, like, alternative gender identity. So I labeled myself non-binary for a long time, identified that way for probably a year and a half before I ever came out as a trans woman. And even then, my parents didn't know I was NB. Nobody that I didn't trust to know knew, but all of my friends and most of the people who kind of knew me that seemed cool, they knew, and I was dressing in more androgynous clothes and in more androgynous styles, and I started to feel way better. And so I was like, why not go full Monty? Like, who the fuck cares? Like, it's 2020. That was when I came out. It's 2020. Trans people are accepted enough now. You're not going to get hate crime merely for existing. So, like, why not? And, I got through that kind of, like, initial period of getting used to the way people kind of, like, look at you different and shit. And I've been, I don't know, getting, like, more and more comfortable. I don't know, like, living as my authentic self every day since then. No, I'm anti-Israel. No, I think Zionism is a bad idea. At least Zionism as it's been expressed in the modern day, and in the way that it has formed Israel as a modern state. Yeah, I think pretty bad expression of the idea. Pretty inarguable. I think genocide is bad. I know, revolutionary position, right? Genocide, bad thing. Starvation of children, bad thing. Uncoordinated airdrops that kill people for no reason because Israel just fucking flat out refuses to let trucks in at a steady rate. Bad thing. By the way, there's 450 people watching right now. Make sure you guys hit that like button. If half of you guys hit that like button right now, we would be sitting at 225 likes like that. So double tap your screen. It takes nothing out of you, and it's a really fun way to interact with the stream too, and just tell you, hey, I like what you're doing, It also helps you, it helps send the stream out to more people on YouTube, which increases the quality of your viewing pleasure by increasing the number of people who can engage in the chat. Hey guys, murder is bad. Well, I know you're making fun, Jareth, but it really does kind of feel like that these days. Like, it feels like for certain people, like if you're arguing with a Zionist, it really does feel like that these days, like you've got to tell people, like, yeah, murder is bad. Like, do you not see that? It's like you've got to find, and that's one of the things that this Israel conflict has done, is that it has forced people to find interesting ways through their rhetoric to actually it's really forced people to confront the basis of their ethics, because people are just outright, they're just like challenging the basic ideas of human ethics with this shit. They'll do some awful war crimes type of shit. They'll do some awful crimes against humanity. And you'll look at them and then be like, that's horrible. How did you do that? And they'll be like, well, we didn't do that. We did this other thing. But you look at the video and it's clear that they did that. And they're like, but no, we didn't though. And then that's just supposed to pass as real shit. But that actually happened. We're going to take their fucking accounting for it. And that's the way it went down. This shit has become a festering fucking nightmare. And it's been a festering fucking nightmare for my entire life. And for the life of countless generations of Palestinians before me. And it's long since time that we did some fucking thing about this massive, festering, gaping wound in the deserts of the Near East. What are you talking about? You would have a way better time if you just sat and listened for 5 minutes. I know that's hard to do sometimes, but you would have a way better time if you just sat, chilled, and listened for a few minutes. You would know what we were talking about. Read the Hamas. I don't care about the Hamas charter. I don't give a fuck. I'm not concerned about Hamas. I don't think Hamas is... Do you literally think every man, woman, and child in Palestine is Hamas? Be real with me for 5 seconds. Do you actually think every man, woman, and child in fucking Palestine is Hamas? Do you realize how absurd that is? You gotta realize how dumb that is, right? Surely to God. I'm not the only one who sees this, right? The entire world is a festering mass of rot? Yeah, but this is such a particularly egregious example, no? Would you not agree that what's going on in Gaza right now is a particularly egregious example of the rot? Yes, they are all Hamas. You're retarded. So the babies are Hamas? The babies. You guys are ghouls. You guys are zombies. What's in your head? In your head. Zombie, zombie, zombie. What's in your head? In your head. Zombie, zombie, zombie. Do you not realize that song is talking about motherfuckers like you? That think that war is a simple little black and white thing where whatever, people just die. Of course, the babies of the combatants gotta be combatants too. Do you know what a fucking monstrous zombie ghoul you sound like? Have you considered it for even a second? Has that even come across your head? Has the thought occurred to you? I don't believe that it's nothing but trolls. See, I used to think that really horrible, nightmarish positions like that were nothing but trolls. I don't think so anymore. By the way, if you want to make sure your question gets read or your comment gets answered, consider sending a super chat. I do read every single one, even as long as it doesn't break TOS. I don't really care what the nature of it is otherwise, but it can't break TOS. Otherwise, I'm not going to read it, and you'll probably get banned. Otherwise, consider sending a super chat. What's your vape flavor? I gotta. This is Jungle berries, Kato bar. Vintage edition. Vintage edition. $5 in my local vape shop. Are you employed? I am self-employed. I'm still getting used to that idea, though. I mean, my income, like, I'm not making buku bucks, but I do this, literally. Some nights we do great on Super Chats, some nights we do shitty, but I make an income on par with a part-time job, and I get taxes taken out of the earnings and shit, so that's employment. I'm like, my main day job is like stay-at-home mom, caretaker, homemaker, that kind of thing, but, you know, when everybody's asleep, I get to come out here and make a little dough on the side for my little spending money and contribute to bills money, I guess, which has been the bulk of it lately. But eventually, it'll be spending money. When more things are paid off, when more things are taken care of, etc., etc. Thank you for the gift. That little flower is kind of you. Okay, I see we're going to deny the fact they kill gays. I don't give a fuck if Hamas kills gays. Every Palestinian in Palestine is not killing gay people. This is another one of these stupid fucking guilt by association fallacies, and I'm not going to fall for it. I don't give a fuck if there are some fundamentalist Muslims in fucking Palestine that would kill me as soon as look at me. I don't give a fuck. That doesn't entitle me to bomb their children. That doesn't entitle me to write off my fucking tax money, and just celebrate the fact that it's being used to bomb their children and their wives and their kids and everybody else. Like, I don't get what the fucking point is here. Old people, young people, everybody in between, the whole lot of them, giant, like, whole apartment buildings just falling down on the residents. People's bones being dragged out of rubble piles months later. How monstrous does a human being have to be to look at this shit and say, yeah, I'm okay with that? I don't get how you guys do it. I really don't. I cannot relate to the mind of a Zionist. By the way, there's 240 people watching right now. Make sure you guys hit that like button. Half of you guys hit that like button, we would have 120 likes just like that. So consider sending a like. It helps. Helps the channel. And thank you, TJ, for the 100 thing. I don't know what that... like the 100 symbol. Keep it 100. I don't know. Do you support abortions? I genuinely want to know. I don't like particularly the idea of abortions, but that's because I've been with someone when they were going through a medication-induced abortion. And I know for a fact that it's not a procedure anyone would want to willingly go through twice. So I'm not a big fan of it as, like, an idea, Like, I don't relish the thought of everybody getting abortions or something like that. But when it comes to someone's ability to get an abortion, I think that that's unquestioned. Or I think it should be unquestioned. It sadly is quite questioned these days. But I think that you should have a right to get an abortion pretty much at any time, like, honestly. But I mean, like, I understand if like, here's the thing. I'm sympathetic to the argument, even if I don't personally believe it myself. I'm sympathetic to the argument that after a certain point, right? After a certain point, a fetus is developed enough to where it's, like, retaining things, and this is just scientific. Like, after a certain point, a fetus is, like, listening kind of in a weird way to the music that you're playing and shit like that. I don't exactly know. I don't remember exactly at what stage that happens, but I'm sympathetic to the argument that there needs to be some kind of a limit at which the only reason why you can have an abortion after that point would be for, like, medical reasons. But I'm not in support of any kind of, like, 6-week abortion ban or 12-week abortion ban, because my understanding is that none of that shit happens from my understanding, from what I remember, none of that shit happens until, like, the last half of the second trimester or some shit, is when babies will start, like, they'll kind of be like remembering the shit that they hear in the womb a little bit. And even then, it's like shaky as to how complicated this knowledge really is and how deep it's held. So I don't know. Like, I'm pro-choice. I recognize that abortions are not a pretty thing, but it's important also to recognize when you're talking about the pro-choice position, it's important to remind people, dude. Most people don't try to fucking get abortions. For most people, abortion is a last-ditch thing. They had sex with somebody that didn't listen to them when they said not to come inside them, and they couldn't afford Plan B or something, and like when they do fucking fall pregnant, they have a family member to offer to pay for an abortion or something like that, or they took Plan B but they didn't take it right or something like that, or it didn't work right. For a lot of people, abortions are a last-ditch effort to get out of a pregnancy that they know they have no business taking on for the rest of their lives. And I think in a situation like that, why would you want that person taking on that pregnancy for the rest of their life? And I also want to remind people that, like, there's a certain point at which a person is not going to willingly give up a pregnancy, at which they want it, at which they, like, people develop an attachment to the pregnancy. People develop an attachment to the life that they're starting to form inside, right? And after a certain point, nobody's going to want to engage in a medical procedure that's going to rip that away from them unless they absolutely have to preserve their own life. It's pretty much the only fucking situation that a late-term abortion ever happens in is in a concerted effort to save the pregnant person's life. And other than that, it's like a non-fucking issue. So, I don't know. I feel like this whole abortion issue gets talked about and talked about and talked about, but I feel like a lot of like the fundamental facts of it are always just missed because both sides of it have like an extreme kind of like, well, one side I think is actually right about it. I think the Democrats are right on this issue. I just don't think that they're effective at codifying it. But when it comes to the Republican argument against abortion, it's all emotional shit. It's all emotional shit, and it's all predicated on the idea that you believe in the Bible. None of the arguments that Republicans make against abortion, none of them hold any weight if you don't believe in the Bible. Literally, name an abortion argument. Name an argument against abortion that doesn't rely on religion. You have a great voice. Thank you. I can do like a hair 180. This chat has been fucking abysmal. I would have had to ban half the people here. Oh, dude, yeah. If this was a Paul chat, half these motherfuckers would be gone at least. At least. You know what? Order 66. I don't normally do it, but you know what? We're going to try and keep this conversation interesting. I beg those of you who survive this, to ask interesting questions. And if you feel like your question's not getting read, consider sending a super chat. And if you haven't liked the stream already, please do so now. Because we are getting rid of the morons. That is what we're doing now. We're sweeping away the dumbest among us, okay? We're sweeping them away. I'm about to watch them go. I'm about to watch them fly, dude. Here, I'm going to make it even easier. How many mods I have on staff right now, so I'm going to make it real easy for them. It fucking 5 minutes. 5 minute sub mode. Baby, hell yeah. Start banning them morons. Let's see. Let the bodies hit the floor. Let the bodies hit the floor. Cleaning house, nice. Dude's begging for cash to get a man. Good job, but you fucking failed because you're a moron. Wee! I ain't begging for cash for shit. I'm telling people that if they want to make sure their question gets read, consider sending a super chat. It's a fucking digital item that I am like explaining how I will make good on. Be mad. Be big mad. Be big mad. I know you want to be. Be the biggest mad. Did you kill Voldemort yet? Oh, dude, I got that fat bastard like 10 years ago. We ban people because we disagree with them? No, we don't ban people because we disagree with them. No, no. Order 66 means like less leniency than we normally give you idiots, but we're still going to give you plenty of leniency. If your comment is readable, original, and interesting, it'll survive. But lately, honestly, my mods kind of have an understanding. We all kind of have an understanding. The Phoebes chat is meant to be kind of a free speech zone. But when people abuse that, we have to crank down. We have to tighten up the fucking volume. We have to tighten up the tightness. We have to ratchet down the pressure. I did my part. Well, thank you, Margot. I appreciate the $2. And if anybody else wants to make sure their comment gets read, consider sending a super chat. You did do your part, Margot. That is true. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. What are your thoughts on gun control? I don't know. I've got some unconventional thoughts on gun control. I don't support any restrictions on type or magazine capacity. But I do support like a strong culture of gun responsibility and gun safety. I think that people should have to take a gun safety course, or that we should introduce that kind of thing into the American public education system. So like before somebody buys a gun, so that we know, right? Because in a lot of other countries where guns are super commonplace, that's a big aspect to it. Like Sweden, everybody will talk about Sweden. Everybody's got guns in Sweden. Well, the reason why it's okay for everybody to have guns in fucking Sweden is because Sweden has fucking compulsory military service. You can opt for like civil service now, but that compulsory military service means that everybody that has a gun in Switzerland or Sweden, I can't remember which one it is, but they're trained to use it. They're trained to use it, and they have shown competency with it and shit. And their entire gun culture over there is centered around responsibility. But it's still fun for people. There's 2.4 million registered firearms in Sweden. Think about that. 2.4 million fucking registered firearms in Sweden. That's a lot of fucking guns. Okay? It's not as many as America's got, but that's a lot of guns for a little ass European country. So I don't think the problem is the guns. I think the problem is the accessibility. I think America's got a gun culture that is very conducive to people being morons with their firearms. And I think that is something we're going to have to correct if we're ever to address gun safety and gun violence as a problem here in America. Bro, how am I still here? I don't know, but make sure you like the stream, because clearly you like it if you're still here 42 minutes later. Goofy ass gun culture, no doubt. I know I'm using this argument a lot, but it's like the heart of the abortion issue. Young people with a lot of life left just forced to be parents because governments, yeah. No, I 100% agree with you, Florida man. It's something that's really fucking tragic when someone's like a whole life plan and everything they wanted to do is like stripped from them because they have to meet the exacting standards of this government that wants them to have kids because they need a high birth rate to support their ever-growing machine of magic capitalism. And that's really what the driver of it is. That's why people, especially Republicans, get so mad when they hear about people choosing to be child-free, because what they want is a maximally exploited population. So they want you to have to be buying shit for kids, too. I'm not dissing you if you're, I'm a parent. I'm not dissing any other parents. I'm not saying anything wrong with it. The cultural messaging that is intrinsic to our society. Like, they want you buying as much shit as possible, and that's one of the reasons why parenting is pushed so hard. Why you am transgender? Pretty much. You see the type of shit I'm battling over here, Frey? Every day, dude. Every day. Girl, it's every fucking night. But you know what? I love it. I bask in their hatred. I love that they hate me. They love me. I suck it up like a milkshake. I suck it up like the vape from this THCA vape. Bro sent $10 to say that. Well, yeah, Frey is making fun of all the morons in chat that are making fun of me for being trans. So, very on brand for them. By the way, thank you for that, Frey. I always appreciate it. It's always good seeing you in here. I haven't seen you in a while, so I was hoping that you were still hanging out in these sometimes. every industrialized nation is trending towards a lower birth rate. I agree that they're trending towards it, but I also think that you say the elites want a lower birth rate. I don't know that that's true. Not yet, anyway. I think as of right now, their system is kind of predicated on an even birth rate. They want people to be having kids. Otherwise, why would Republican politicians be so anti-abortion? You leave the religious argument out of it, and what do they have? Well, you have to start looking at the money trail. That's the only other thing that matters in this country, right? There are two things that motivate most politicians here in America. One of them is Christian bullshit. The other is money. And in fact, I would argue that money is a way stronger motivator than Christian bullshit. But Christian bullshit does still occasionally make its way into our government, and more than occasionally. It's funny. Sometimes it rides in on the back of money. But point is, these things are very intertwined. But they don't. Yes, they want a poor lower class, but they also want that lower class to be having kids, because that lower class is they're reliant on consumerism, right? Like, it's kind of weird to think about, but the richer you are, the more likely you've got things of value that are passed down, or that you can just buy whatever you need when you need it and don't think about it all that hard. For somebody like me in my position, the amount of labor value that is expressed whenever we purchase something for our kid or something like that is way higher, like in terms of like the amount of time we spent to make that amount of money. We spent way more of our life to make that money than somebody in the position that I'm talking about, right? And so ultimately it means more. It does more for the economy when a poor person or a working class person in general buys something than it does when a rich person buys something. Because a rich person has to buy so fucking much shit before they start making a meaningful difference, right, in the lives of the people that they're buying from. And in a lot of cases, it's not even going to make a difference in the lives of the people that they're buying from. It's going to make a difference in the fucking corporate profits, and that's it. So, like, in terms of economic output, even if you're going to look at it as just like a straight equation of how much people are spending as an equation of like hours spent to product purchased, working class people spend way more of their life to get the same amount that a rich person spends practically none of their life to get. I mean, there are some rich people who don't even fucking, like, they don't have any kind of job. They just live off of the strength of their investments, and that's just what they do. And they go jet setting around the world and have fun all day, and that's their life. And man, what a fun life that would be to live, but that ain't the fucking life of most fucking people. And when a person like that buys something, it represents practically no input into the economy other than that purchase. When a poor person buys something, it's almost a direct corollary between the money that they put in and hours of their life that they spent. Holy shit, we went down to fucking 20 views. What the fuck? They barely talk about being trans. Y'all talk about them being trans. Yeah, that's the fucking thing I don't get. It's like, literally, I've been sitting here talking about the fucking economy for like 20 minutes now. And yet there are a bunch of morons in here talking about how I'm supposedly talking about me being trans all the time. Like that's some kind of big topic on my mind. Like it's something I just can't get over or some shit. I don't get it. I'm sorry about the Christians harassing you. Don't worry about it. They'll fucking get over it eventually. Or they won't. And then they'll get banned out of the chat or whatever. Can someone check and see if this stream is age-gated? I fear we just got age-gated. They all want to jerk off? Maybe. Yeah, no, they're definitely pseudo-Christians. I think that, like, Well, here's the thing, though. They're really not pseudo-Christians. I mean, I'm of the opinion that you don't have to be individually responsible for every fucking single person in your group, but if your group has a tendency and you ally with that group despite that tendency, I think that you need to be held to account for that tendency in some way, right? And so I don't like this idea of separating the bigoted Christians from the non-bigoted Christians. I think that the non-bigoted Christians need to address the rot in their church, because there are a lot of people going around claiming the name of Christ for hateful purposes, which is not what Christ set out to do. That's not what he. That's not the legendarium that he left behind. You know, that wasn't the intent. So, I think that people that do believe in that faith need to start really seriously addressing the fucking massive flaws in so many of the people that claim to practice it. Someone who lives in a room and only online shouldn't have an opinion. What the fuck makes you think I only live online? Do you think I've been streaming all day, motherfucker? Do you think I've literally been streaming since sunup? Republicans don't see how authoritarian they talk, like everyone deserves an opinion and everyone can have an opinion. Republicans love to remind you about how it's America and everybody's got free speech when they're in the minority. When Republican opinion is not in vogue, or when they don't feel empowered, when they feel like they're being oppressed because there's a Democrat in office or something, that's when they love to talk about free speech, and they love to talk about how it's America, baby. I could say whatever the fuck I want. I could say whatever racist shit I want, and you can't, you know, like, um, they love it then, right? But let a Republican come along, and suddenly you get a completely different fucking reaction. Suddenly, their arguments flip on a dime. Thank you for the gift, by the way. I appreciate that. If anybody else wants to send a super chat, it's a great way to make sure your question gets read or your comment gets answered. I do read every single one. Should the Muslims also police their own as they commit attacks and actual violence across the Middle East? Should we hold Muslims to the same standard as Christians that you propose? Yes. Now, do I think that means bombing their countries? No. Do I think that means banning them from entry into the United States? No. But I do think that it would be nice to have to really actually see some Christian theologians, some Christian activists that are like progressives and shit, or some secular activists that are progressives and shit. It would really be nice to see some debates that focus on the way that these religions move forward and change the rot within them. Yes, 100%. Yes, I think that the fundamentalist bent in some Islamic countries, I do think that it would be great if there would be movements within those countries to oppose that. I think that would be wonderful. I think that it would be great if the Muslim diaspora in general would, but I would argue that the Muslim diaspora in general honestly already has largely acquiesced to whatever the local custom is. I mean, you look at a dude like Zoran Mamdani, right? You look at a dude like Zoran Mamdani, and his policies are not, like, keep in mind, Zoran Mamdani belongs to the same exact branch of Islam that the Ayatollah Ali Khamenei belongs to. Yes, that fucking Ali Khamenei. Supreme leader of Iran, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. Same branch of Islam. They're both 12er Shia Muslims. That goes to show you the wide fucking disparate variety of expression that you can get within Islam, even within the same fucking branch. So you've got the same branch of Islam, and on one fucking side of the extreme, you've literally got a socialist, an outright socialist, pro-queer, pro-trans, pro-fucking workers' rights, pro-affordability. That's his big thing. That's the main thing he drills on constantly. Like, that's his main fucking thing, is affordability. So you look at a dude like that, right, on one side, and then on the other side, you've got a dude like Ali Khamenei, who is literally a fundamentalist religious leader who has regularly approved of the lynching of gay people and the street execution of gay people as a way of purifying the people. You know, it's just like monstrous shit. They belong to the same branch of Islam. And I think that more reasonable people like Sohan should be having conversations with their more conservative Muslim neighbors. And hopefully he does. Hopefully lots of Muslims do, because I do think that that kind of fundamentalism is a fucking problem. You know, I'm sorry, no matter how justified it may be, no matter how, and I don't think it is justified, because I think violence begets violence, and I think more violence begets violence, and I think at some point you have to choose to break the cycle. That's why I think Martin Luther King Jr.'s policies and protest methods were so effective, especially allied as they were, not allied, but opposed as they were by the kind of more violent movement of the civil rights era. Yeah, like, we need to think strategy on this shit. What's up, Post? If you're pro-queer, you're not Muslim, you're just pretending to be. I don't agree with that. Same for if you're pro-women's rights, that's just straight up against Islamic values and crime. It's really not, Florida man. I mean, well, I guess you could argue about that, but here's the thing. Here's the fucking thing. Who gets to determine who is and is not a Muslim? Does you decide? Who does? I tell you this much, his imam seems to, his imam, whoever that is, important. I haven't heard of New York come out with some kind of like raging tirade against Zoran, which tells me that he's accepted by the Muslim community there, that he's regularly attending, fuck, I forget what it's called. I forget what their church services are called, basically. But you get what I mean. He's clearly a Muslim in good standing according to his local religious community, so who are we to supersede that, you know? Ezra, you realize the Bible does the same thing? Ezra, level with me here. You realize the Bible does the exact same thing? I've had better experiences with overt Muslims than I do with Christians by far. Yeah. No, I know a Muslim church is called a mosque. I'm talking about, what is their church service called? Because I know they don't, they don't call it mosque service or whatever. There's like a specific Arabic name for it, but I can't think of what it is right now. All the fucking Arabic faces I have in my memory, and I don't remember that one. La ilaha illallah, Muhammadun Rasulullah, Hassalam Alaykum. You know? Can't remember that one, though. I don't support most religions. They are very much barely even modern enough to be here. Well, I agree with you in principle. I'm not a big fan of the idea of organized religion, but I'm also a big fan of civil liberties. I'm of the opinion that it's up to you if you believe in a retarded idea, that I will protect your right to believe in that retarded idea, even if I stand around calling it a retarded idea after the battle's over. You know? As long as you're fine with that arrangement, I'm happy to defend your right to say and believe in the stupid idea. You know, that's how I feel about it. Allahu Akbar. Muhammad was not a nice man. Muhammad was not nice. Muhammad was what we call a warlord. You can say Allahu Akbar, it's not banned. It's not a terrorist phrase. It just means God is great in Arabic. Allahu Akbar. It's not special. W. Gallic. The only thing I can say in Gallic is Oro Shedava Hawalia. which is just the name of a song. I think it means, oh, how the summer's come, or something like that. Y'all want to hear a goofy song real quick? We might start a busking stream, maybe. I hate to ask you guys to follow me to get another stream, but give me that old-time religion. Give me that old-time religion. Give me that old-time religion. It's good enough for me. We will pray to Aphrodite. We will pray to Aphrodite. She wears that see-through nightie, and it's good enough for me. Give me that old-time religion. Give me that old-time religion. Give me that old-time religion. It's good enough for me. We will pray to Zarathustra. We will pray to Zarathustra. We'll pray to Zarathustra. I'm a Zarathustra booster, and it's good enough for me. Give me that old-time religion. Give me that old-time religion. Give me that old-time religion. It's good enough for me. That's a good song, though. Pausing until you have good equipment, starting now. How till I have good equipment? How am I supposed to magically make that happen? I have what I have, bro. I have what I have. I got this shitty old Fender, and I got this shitty old phone. This shitty old strap, and I got these shitty old pins. And you know what? That's right there. That's the spirit of dirty kid culture. You wanted to get better than that? Well, what the fuck are you looking at me for? What gave you that impression? What gave you the impression? You saw a fat trans lady with a billion rusty fucking pins on her fucking strap and playing like horrible acoustic guitar at 3 a.m, and you're like, yeah, this chick is gonna have top level professional music equipment just stashed away, and she's gonna be really good at using it. No. POV me every time I change my username from Capybara to some random ass shit. God damn it! Florida man, I didn't know you were fucking Capybara this whole time. I thought you were a new viewer. You motherfucker. God, you motherfucker. You're fucking... YouTube should stop letting people change their fucking goddamn names so many times, dude. Motherfuckers. You fucker. I'm so pissed. I didn't know it was you this whole time. What's the difference in a bisexual trans man and a trans woman? Well, the sexuality doesn't play into it. Trans man is someone who was born assigned female at birth, right, but has transitioned to some variety of manhood as as they've gotten older. Whereas a trans woman is someone like me who was born assigned male at birth and transitioned to some variety of womanhood later on in life, right? Sexuality doesn't really come into it. Ancient history on the Middle East is crazy. They've been oppressive for hundreds of years. Well, one of the things I was talking about earlier is I want to make this like long-ass, 4-hour-long I don't know if you could call it a mini series or a video essay series or what, but I want to make it this little thing where I cover all of this shit, and I want to debunk or prove some myths. You know, I want to actually investigate them, and I want to really fucking deep dive it. Now, I'm reticent to even get started on the research before I get the equipment together, but maybe if I get the research together and everything, you know, maybe somebody would be like, oh shit, if you're that close, you know, I should just get started on it now, because otherwise I'll push it away for the rest of my life. But like, I want to go through and get as many sources as I can and figure out, is this true? Is this notion true? Because I was talking about earlier how there's this notion about the Middle East that is exactly what you just said, that the Middle East has been oppressive for thousands of years, that they've been fighting for the last 2,000 years, that it's just been constant fight after fight after fight after, and I don't believe that shit. I find it hard to believe, I should say. I find it hard to believe, right? I find it hard to believe because the story of humanity is not one of constant oppression and fighting, it's one of cooperation, which makes me think, right, that there's probably something more to it. And I also know how propaganda works, so, you know, I want to really look into it, and I want to see if they have been in constant conflict. Has it been conflict from within, or has it been conflict from without? Because if you've been under constant invasion for the last, like, if the amount of time that they've spent fighting has been commensurate with the amount of time that they've been invaded by foreign powers and shit, like if they've all been fighting with each other since the Crusades, and I find out in my research that the West never really left the Middle East, you know, which is one of my fucking theories. But once again, I don't know as much about this area as I wish I did, and this is one of the things that I want to cure with this project I want to do. You know, one of the things I want to cure myself of is my lack of knowledge about the Middle East, and that comes from somebody who knows probably more than your average person does, right? I know that Israel is bordered by Lebanon, Egypt, Syria. I can't remember if Iraq shares a direct border with them. What are they bordered by on the fucking north? Turkey, maybe? I don't remember. Maybe I don't know this shit as well as I thought I did. But I know Iran is right next to Iraq, I'm pretty sure, which is right up close to Afghanistan. I know that Iranians, yeah. I know that Iranians are also known as Persians, and that the Shah of Iran attempted to embrace a very Persian kind of atmosphere for his court and like the hopes of his ambitions and shit. I know that the land that Israel occupies is called the Levant, and that it contains, you know, is near to the site of one of the cradles of civilization, you know. So I know shit, you know, but I don't know nearly as much as I wish I knew. I know ancient Egypt and that kind of shit, you know. I know that the Jews lived in it, the land that we now call Israel, for a long time. I know that Arabs lived in that area for a long time too. Not necessarily Arabs, but, you know, like people from other like ethnic groups in that area that weren't Jewish people, right? I know that the further you go east in the Middle East, the more influenced and the more cultural kind of exchange and influence and inter-influence there is between those areas and India and broader Asia. I know that the farther west you go, the more influenced they are by North Africa and by Turkey and things like that. So, why do you care more about other countries that are known third world instead of building knowledge and developed on your ability to stay stay alive with bare minimum? What makes you think I don't have that knowledge? Like, here's the fucking thing. If the bottom goes out of society, most people are gonna be fucked. Even a lot of people like my family, who we feel pretty prepared most days, but honestly, guys, I gotta be real with you. If shit just hit the fucking fan, I guess we could probably hold out for a while, as long as, you know, as long as nobody tracked us fucking down and stole all our fucking garden plants and shit, or just killed us off and took the property hostage or whatever. You know, I guess we'd be okay for a while. But eventually, um, I mean, eventually it would be really fucking hard to keep things going. I mean, like if the bottom falls out of society, if it gets to the point where you have to survive on very little, you're fucked. You're fucked. Your best fucking bet is forming a tight-knit group with whatever people you got. If that's your fucking family and the people living in your household, good. If you've got any neighbors, great. Bring them in too. Unite all your homes. Build a big old fucking fence around the outside edge of your neighborhood. Dig a giant moat in all the backyards of the neighbors who didn't make it or fucking fled or whatever. Or bring them into the fold and double up in your on the population inside that little microclimate or whatever. Dude, it's gonna fucking be hell on earth if the bottom falls out of society and that kind of knowledge becomes actually important. It's gonna be hell on earth if that shit ever becomes meaningful and important. Yeah, no, I mean, that's the thing. My family, like, we've been farming this land since the 1940s. And before that, my family was farming other people's land for probably centuries, if we're being honest. My family were poor white sharecroppers before my one of my great great granduncles bought the land that we live on now, and it's passed down through my family since then. I got QP jar of dabs, so I'm ready for years. Are you a rainbow kid? Do I know you? Do I know you? Because that sounds an awful lot. That sounds an awful lot like a rainbow that gave me a bunch of dabs at Colorado Nationals. You look Scot-Irish? I am. I am. Mostly. I'm like, let's see. 14%, like almost 15%. It's like 14.8% or some shit like that. So it's like 15% French and German, which is like, leaves me with like 85% mixed Scots-Irish with a little bit of British in there. And then 0.04 uh, Angolan and Congolese, and 0.02 Northern Indian and Pakistani. East Coast, I breed my own seeds. That's fucking dope. That's so cool. But yeah, no, I mean, I agree with the message of readiness, but I also want people to not get in this mindset of being loners when this shit happens. If it ever happens, if shit ever hits the fan, I don't want you guys going around. I don't want anybody to ever leave this channel. If we ever, like if we're ever having a serious conversation about food sovereignty or preparedness, because I really do want to get back into talking about that as a topic on this channel. But if we really want to get into that, and like, I want people to walk away from this channel knowing that the solution is not to store a bunch of seeds like a crazy person just for yourself, and you're not planting them or anything else. Like, the real solution is you need to plant a garden in your yard if you can. If you're allowed to by the terms of your HOA, you need to do that. And if you can't, you need a container garden on your back patio. And then you need to start telling your neighbors about it and getting to know your neighbors if you haven't. You need to start giving them plants and getting them into it and getting them to grow more stuff. And you need to get your whole fucking neighborhood in on it if you can, because it's going to be monkey strong together that gets us through, if anything does. And honestly, the skills and the preparedness that you would help to establish would be way fucking more useful in society as it exists right now. It would actually ease the burden on things and reduce the chance that something like this has to come to pass. But man, sometimes I feel like people just are not prepared for these changes. But these are the kinds of changes that Americans would need to make in order to fully fucking reverse the tide of the ownership crisis that has affected us, right? Because right now, our food supply, our housing, everything is owned by fucking rich people and billionaires. And I feel like most people are not even attempting to take any of that back. Now, when it comes to the housing situation, you literally can't help it if houses are too expensive to buy. You can't help it if there's not a place you can move to where your job exists with cheap houses, you know? You can't help that. But when it comes to the food thing, you can help that. Even if you own your home, you can help that 100%. Even if you have an HOA, you've probably got a fenced-in backyard where you can have whatever you want. So you build a garden back there, and you've got fresh vegetables during the fucking harvest season. And if you learn to can, then you've got your garden fresh vegetables all year round. Lots of those canned goods, some of them last for fucking years. So there you go. You know, you've got like this fresh supply of food that you and your family can supplement your food budget with. And now you're not as reliant on the food cycle as it exists, like the commercial food cycle. You're not as reliant on that anymore. It's like some kind of Republican kind of independent ideology of not relying on corporations for food. So you like grow your own food or have cattle's. I would say, I don't know. Like I'm big on food sovereignty. I don't think it's necessarily a Republican ideology or anything like that. In fact, I would argue that it's been used to great effect in a lot of leftist communities and in a lot of leftist organizing efforts. For example, a lot of the focus of food sovereignty efforts here in America center on Native American people being able to replenish their old ancestral food stocks and being able to get into growing those crops again. Enabling Native Americans to get back into their traditional forms of agriculture and things like that. That focus of food sovereignty in the modern day is restoring that, right? Like it's a concept that maybe it's championed by some right-wing figures, I don't know, but to me it's got such an inherently leftist spin. The idea of, and in fact, in my opinion, it's got an anarchist spin to it, because the idea of it is democratizing the food supply. The idea of food sovereignty is taking ownership over your food supply. That's what it is. The idea is you are no longer reliant or as reliant on the idea of combines and a giant fucking grocery section to get your groceries. And the thing is, if that happened and people actually moved away from that, dude, as long as we didn't let the corporations make it illegal to have a garden or some shit, because they would try, rest assured they would be trying to come after our civil liberties that just do shit like this if it started as a mass movement across America. But if people united for their right to grow the shit that they want to grow and to save seeds and shit like that, as long as people united around that cultural shift, grocery stores would have to take notice. They would have to start stocking less fruit. They'd have to start selling it at better rates, or something. They would have to they would have to change shit, and shit would be less wasteful. There would be less needless produce being made for markets that no longer demand as much of it. So, like, unless you're some world star ninja I don't know about, I feel like I'd know if an adult human in the quiet ass woods is ganging up on me. Well, yeah. I mean, like, duh. It's just a silly fucking thing to even question. Like, yeah. Yeah, if you're in the woods somewhere, you're number one, if you're anything like me, I'm on high alert in the woods. I think it's I think it's honestly something I picked up from my dad when we used to go hunting when I something we used to do quite a bit in the fall and the winter. And even when we would just be walking other times, Dad would pretty much, in preparation for having me do that, anytime we were doing like a walk through the woods, because he would want to walk some of our hunting trails during the summer and spring too, just to see where animal movements were and things like that. And he would always have me walk the same way that we would when we were hunting. So, like very attentive, very quiet, like you're not listening to anything except nature. You're not talking a whole lot. You're not if you are talking, it's a very quiet whisper, you know. You're moving as gently as you can, and you're listening for any sign of animal movement, for a leaf being turned over during a stillness of the breeze. You're listening for a branch being tripped over as a deer jumps from one place to another. All these fucking things. And I think to this day that shit affects me when I walk through the woods, because I'm always like on that kind of like high alert. I'm not jumpy when I'm in the woods, weirdly enough, though. I'm always like normally very jumpy with loud noises and things like that, or surprising noises, or like it's quiet and something like that. But in the woods it's different. In the woods I'm like, me too. I just be hiking and thinking there's some serial killer up, and they're like, no one's up there. America has at least 1,000 more years. You're fucking kidding me. America doesn't have 100 more years, bro. I would be shocked if America in its current form lasts 50 more years. Yeah. By the way, I don't know if you guys heard about it, but according to Trump, the United States now owns 10% of Intel. So yeah, you know how you've been hearing from Republicans and right wingers and conservatives for the last 50 years that state-owned corporations don't work, that it's a bad idea, and that it's horrible and you should always avoid it, and it's socialism? Well, Donald Trump just did a socialism. I want you guys to remember this. Next time you advocate for the nationalization of an industry and somebody tells you, no, we can't do that, that's wrong, and list out all the reasons why, I want you to make them justify Donald Trump announcing that America now owns 10% of Intel. How the fuck can you justify a state-owned corporation when it comes to Intel, but not when it comes to America's railways? We can't nationalize freight rail in America because, what are you going to do about the railroad companies? Oh my God, is the socialism in the room with us now? I mean, like, am I wrong though, Post? Have they not been yelling about that being socialism for years? America gonna have to change a whole fucking lot for it to survive another 1,000 years, but I guess you could argue it will all just in different forms, like a lot of European nations. Yeah, that could happen. I mean, yeah, we could get taken over by another country, but they let us continue calling ourselves America. And so functionally we exist as like a vassal state or something like that. That could happen. That's a total, in fact, that's the direction I see it going. But I also see in an occasion like that, like things are going to be different. Number one, immigration is, if something like that happens, immigration is going to be opened up between this country and whatever country does it. And trade is going to be opened all the way up and shit. It's going to be fucking crazy. So who knows? It'll probably actually be a benefit to most average people living in America. They'll probably have more money than they used to. Probably have more freedoms because they've got less fucking, because their politicians have less meaningful power at the end of the day, because the president's no longer a thing. Or maybe he is, but he's like reduced, in power and complexity, because now there's like a country that technically like maintains us or whatever. It's not going to be pretty at all. No. If we compare the United States in the 1900s versus now, it's basically a whole other nation. I don't know if I agree. I mean, we had less land in the early 1900s, but I don't know if that qualifies us as a completely different nation. I think if you want to look at a time when we were a completely different nation than what we are right now, I think you have to look a little bit back farther than the 1900s. I think you have to look at the pre-Civil War era. Yeah, that's what I think. I think the Civil War and Reconstruction is what marked the end of old America and the beginning of new America. America began to come to grips with its own enlightenment sometime in the 1880s, give or take. And you started to see more black people participating in various forms of society across America. Of course, a lot of that went down, especially in the South, in the wake of Reconstruction ending, but, you can't win them all, I guess. What's that noise? Which noise? You might be hearing crickets. I'm going to smoke a bowl for President Thumb. Nice. Bowls for Thumb. I'd say America is going through its biggest transition currently. I mainly meant pre-Civil War when I had said 1900s. Oh, well, you mean 1800s then. You mean 1800s. But yes, in that case, I would agree. Pre-1800s America was a different country. Slavery was legal, for one. Chattel slavery. I mean, slavery is still legal in America. It's just, more complicated now. More complicated, and you can't, use a bullwhip on them anymore. But it's still very much here. Still an institution. And the bull comes out when the cameras are off, so I guess it's not that much better, actually. Yeah. America's a fucked up place. One of those things you have to admit about being an American. We might get some shit right. We get a whole lot of shit wrong. I see a lot of people refer to 1800s as 1900s, so I was well, okay, so here's where the confusion comes in. It's 19th century you're thinking of. So the 1800s was actually the 19th century, which I know doesn't make any sense, but the 1900s is properly the 20th century, and the 2000s are the 21st century. This is because we can't have a 0th century. No, it's actually because we do have a 0th century. We do have a century 0, but that kind of fucks it up because that means the first century is technically the second century. Well, wait, that doesn't make any goddamn sense either, come to think of it. You know what? I got nothing. I don't know why the fuck that is. It's real dumb, now that I think about it. Like, I've never really thought critically about it before. I've always just assumed that was the reason. But now that I've actually done the math in my head, that makes no fucking sense at all. Because if that's how it was, if they said, like the actual first century was like, oh, it's the first century, right? It would actually make a lot more sense if we called the 1900s the 18th century. Maybe I just don't understand how numbers work, actually. Wait a minute. So, years 0 to 99, if those were counted as the first century, then years 100 to 199 would be counted as the second century. Okay, we figured it out. Finally, after 15 minutes, Phoebes has deduced the correct answer. I'm such a moron. 0th century. 0th century, bro. Well, if you think about it, 100 years ago, the universe was just the globe. Yeah, I did the maths. Finally, it took me long enough, but I eventually did the maths. What song is that? What song? I don't remember. W0th century. Wee. Oh man. Why do you guys let me say such stupid shit? How am I to ever win local office running around saying shit like 0th century? Yeah, back during the, 0th century AD. The what? It was like 89 BC or some shit. You mean the 1st century BC? Nah, dude, because that'd be the... Wait a minute. Hold on. Okay, yeah, I guess you're right. Fuck, dude. What? I usually wait till other people do the math. Someone always does it. Maybe even the hour. The Last Slave was never released. There was a slave released an hour ago, I bet, though. What song do you keep singing? What do you mean? I'm not singing anything. I don't think I've been singing anything. Have I been singing anything, y'all? Which is the 0th? I would say the 0th century is the 8th century. It's the biggest 0 of all the centuries. It's the biggest 0. Lame ass century. I don't know. Apparently, I need to sleep early for, my sister graduating. So I'm on that 6-hour sleep gang. Nice. Nice! I'm actually surprised that worked. I wish I had my slide. I'll be honest with you. I wish I still had a slide. You use a bowl as a slide, but it doesn't really work. I'm just taking... I'm just making awful racket, and you guys are like sitting around listening to it. I wonder how many elderly women died the same day as the Queen, but only the Queen was remembered. Dude, probably like 300,000 or some shit. There's probably like an insane number of old women who died the same day, and that day is permanently going to be remembered as the day fucking Elizabeth the 19th or whatever died. Oh, speaking of the Brits, I'm going to break British law again. I'm going to keep breaking British law because I'm a fucking American. I'm allowed to. because British laws don't apply to us, ever since that whole 1776 debacle, I support Palestine Action. Palestine Action is a valid organization which should not be prescribed. I repeat, I am purposefully breaking British law because British law is fucking stupid when it comes to this particular issue. Palestine Action is a valid organization which should not be prescribed. When Phoebe laughs like that, she's delirious. Shut up. You do not. You don't know shit. You don't know shit about Shinola, bro. What do you think you know? What do you think you know? Britain be like, we're a democracy. Meanwhile, Britain, I'm sorry, you can't talk about Palestine Action. That's actually a prescribed organization, mate. Haven't you heard? No. Because I'm not a fucking Brit. I'm a fucking American. I say whatever the fuck I please. Because that's the hallmark of a fucking American. That's the hallmark of our whole goddamn country, baby. Say what you want and dress how you feel. Don't let anyone tell you that gender is real. Say what you want. Be what you want. Dress how you feel. Don't let anyone tell you that gender is real. Andrew is an inbred pedophilic monster. Yep. Well, property is theft until the thieves are away. I wish I could remember that whole song. Halfway debating on doing a busking stream because Man, there's a song that's stuck in my head that I want to play for you guys. And everyone will celebrate someday. Waving sweatshop flags and Monday lattes. Wearing culture on their backs. Wearing spirit on their hats. One by one they'll join the parade. We'll celebrate. Every town will celebrate someday. Just like they do in Florida, down in Celebration, Florida, where every town is Main Street, USA. We'll be safely kept at bay from any destruction or dismay or display of truth, adventure, love, and rage of truth, adventure, love, and rage of truth, adventure, and love, and rage. Yeah, everyone will celebrate someday. Waving sweatshop flags and blonde lattes. Wearing culture on their backs. Wearing spirit on their hats. One by one we'll join the parade. Yeah, one by one we'll join the parade. Ow! Ow! Fuck me. Oh. Yeah, that fan is just too cold. Too cold! That's the way I hate on Britain's stream? Nah, dude. Post is saying busk. Capybara, yeah, I know you're gonna fucking come along with the buskin' stream too, so your vote, I'm sorry, friend, counts for less. I'm kidding. I love you, Cappy. I'm glad you're always here for me. I really do appreciate the viewership. Imagine if streamers just burst from the behind the sofa when Phoebe started singing. I mean, given how theatrical I am, would that really shock you guys that much? I mean, it probably would in the moment, and it's definitely going to happen at some point now that you've said that. I'm going to have to get... Dude, I could rig it up, too. I would have to teach myself a little bit about homemade pyrotechnics, probably, but I could rig up a little foot trigger here and use it at convenient moments. Although I'd have to have multiple charges. Yeah, I mean, I guess if I move this up a little bit, I could hide some... I could rig some equipment behind that sofa for sure. I would die, dude. That would be hilarious, though. Dude, Cumburglar doesn't even hang out in here anymore. I think Cumburglar got fucking hidden. So, Cumburglar's gonna have to come back on an alt or some shit. Dude, I offered to do a busking stream, and now I feel like a piece of shit because I just realized how late it is. And genuinely, y'all, I need to stop staying up so late. So I think I might have to just call it quits. Fuck, dude. I hate to do that to you guys, though. You know? Because I am in the mood, but I'm also fucking, you know. I've got other things going on in life these days. And I do have to be moderately responsible, you know? And I know if I start a busking stream, I'm going to be doing it for like 12 fucking hours. Like I do everything else. You know, I'm going to be there for freaking 4 hours entertaining y'all. I hid that hoe. I need to stop staying up so late, but I'm not going to, dude. I have to. Parental responsibilities. Anyway, I'm actually going to go ahead and go because I feel like it's been a productive... Well, you know what? No, I'm not going to go ahead and go yet. You know what? Fuck you guys. Not fuck you guys. No, but fuck you guys. No, but not... But, okay, listen. Here's what I'm trying to say, okay? I love you guys, right? And I want to stay here until we hit an even fucking 2 hours, okay? I like to do 2 hours of fucking night for you guys. We'll do that. We'll hit at least 2 hours, okay? Honestly, I need to sleep because I'm waiting up at 10 a.m. But well, you guys can go to bed if you want to. I can sit here and fucking entertain the chat. Maybe we'll play a couple of songs before we go, you know? Who knows? I probably won't, but you never know. You never do, you know. Summer is slowly coming to a close. Summer has come and gone. Wait, no. Summer has come. Wait, is that the line? I can't remember. I'm gonna smoke one more cigarette, smoke one more bowl before bed. Nice. I'm so not actually capybara. Glitter crown says Florida something, not capybara something. Okay, well, whatever, dude. You said you were capybara, so I know you're Cappy. You can't fucking fool me. You type like Cappy, you're here like Cappy, you're Cappy, bro. Ain't nobody claiming Cappy's title but you. Ain't nobody claiming Cappy's title but you. And if you're not Cappy, then where's Cappy? You're Cappy, bro. You're Cappy. Cappy thinks I don't got his number. I do. Well, big bad man came into town, gave treats to the children, pushed the daddies around, made the streets so clean and made the streets so bright and the zones of blight. No more fear in the hearts of whites. He washed the paintings, washed the wheel. Da, da, da. Rename the streets and city hall. Rename the streets and city hall. He named his price, his face on every wall. Ho, 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 his face on every wall. Now the, now the, now the factories have all shut down. No more cloth stitched in this town. So the only job for a boy and I in the prison man making tiles shine. So maybe someday that man will come here too with his magic hat, spitting glue. He'll shine the floors, paint the bricks, rename the streets, and make the clocks all tick. On time, he'll make it run on time, and everyone will celebrate someday, waving sweatshop flags and blondie lattes. Wearing culture on their backs, wearing spirit on their hats. One by one they'll join the parade. Let's celebrate. One by one they'll join the parade. I'll change my username back to Capybara once I can because I need to wait like a week. I don't get. You're fine. I know you're Cappy. it doesn't matter. I like the fact that you play around with your username. I was just making fun of you earlier. I wasn't really even making fun. I guess I was, but it was meant to be good-natured, and I hope you took it that way. I love having you in here. I think you're funny, and I think you're a cool character to have in chat. You're always adding to the conversation, never subtracting, so I appreciate that about it. And I like the fact that you fuck around a little bit in a way that I find interesting. I don't know, dude. Maybe some people wouldn't find it interesting. Like I feel like the kind of trolling you engage in here, and it's like it's good-hearted trolling, right? But I feel like it probably wouldn't pass muster in Paul's chat. But for me, for some reason, it tickles my little like. There's something like childlike or immature about me that is tickled by just like stupid little fucking things like that. You know, like silly. Like there's like a weird 14-year-old fucking part of me that's like, you know, just driven to giggles by funny usernames and people playing long cons with characters in chat and shit like that. I don't know, it just tickles me. I like it. Like I like characters in chat. I don't know how else to put it. It's something I've learned about myself. I like characters and people, I think. I like, you know what I've learned about myself doing this, and I guess it's what I've been talking about for the last 5 minutes, but it's something I really did learn about myself from doing this. I like people with character, and I like people that are characters. Sometimes they're both. Sometimes it's one or the other. But I like all three. What's better, Capybara or Florida Man? I think Florida Man. Because you'll be the most reasonable Florida Man. I don't know, for some reason, me changing my username literally tickles me retarded brain. I don't know why. Dude, I get the same fucking pleasure. That's why some of my alts have hilarious names. Dude, I have this one alt. That I have this one alt that I used to troll Paul's chat with sometimes. That I don't even remember the fucking name of it now because it's been so long I've looked at it, but it's named after a figure from a deposition that Paul recommended years ago. He used to talk about, I guess he hasn't done it in a long time or something, because he used to talk about listening to depositions before he would go to bed, and I asked for some recommendations on him. He went on a tear recommending him for a while, and one of the ones he recommended me was this gold trader, this fraudulent fucking gold trader who I don't think ever traded a fucking ounce or a halfpenny worth of gold. I don't think this dude, I don't even know if he ever touched a piece of gold jewelry. Let me put it that way. No, I don't know. I think actually, if I remember correctly, his business was about buying gold jewelry, and he claimed he had this supplier or some shit. I don't even remember the fucking scam now, but he was this giant fat dude, and he had he had a story for everything. He was not like a lot of people in depositions. He was not like a lot of people in depositions, dude. A lot of people in depositions, if they've been trained well by their lawyer, they have this tactic where they're deferring it to other people, but kind of directly. You know, they're saying, oh, well, you'll have to, like, there's this other one whose name also escapes me, but he was a religious leader, a black guy who led a church somewhere in St. Louis. I just forget his name. But he would talk about, oh, you'll have to ask Michelle about that. I'm not actually sure about that particular purchase, you know? But Cletus Barker the Third, or whatever his fucking name was, this dude would just come out and he would tell an outlandish lie. Just like a comically outlandish lie. Just like a plainly, like a plainly obvious lie. He'd spin this for the lawyer that was deposing him as an answer to whatever question they were fucking posing him. And it's just hilarious to watch this dude spin, invent a reality that exists. It really is some like Hateful Eight, Daisy Domergue level shit. But like if Daisy Domergue got like 12 hours to come up with her plot line, you know? It is just absurd. It's some of the best storytelling you'll ever hear. And it's all bullshit. It's just like patently obvious bullshit, you know? Plainly obvious bullshit. It'll be Bog Witch. Nice. It started with pickle and like me becoming the good version of pickle cucumber, then trying to be a fish, then just changing it up. I don't know why or how it started, but it did. Nice. Yeah, I don't know. I like it though. Dude, one of my fucking but yeah, no, that alt is named after that dude. But I used to troll Paul's chat with it because he was the like Paul is literally, the one who recommended that deposition. So I I got a few funny reactions out of it, and then once I detected some staleness coming out of his reactions, I instantly gave up that alt, and you know I haven't alt trolled in Paul's chat in a long time, but I haven't felt like the chat has needed that in a long time. See, if I want to be like like an adjutant in chat or something, or I want to play devil's advocate or something like that, and not have like Paul or someone, try and like I don't want someone in chat to loop me into a side conversation sometimes. And I like if I play devil's advocate in Paul's chat as myself occasionally, it's like sometimes misinterpreted. And so if I just come at it with a completely other account that's like not tied, then I can make that argument or whatever it is and not have it be confused necessarily with my other ones, right? But I haven't even done that in fucking years, so it's of less utility now that I've accepted more of the strangeness of my positions, I guess. But yeah, sometimes when the chat would be dead, as recently as like 2023, sometimes when the chat would be like not providing a lot of quality content, sometimes I would just pop in there with like an alt, like a trolley alt, to stir things up, make some like make some kind of hay out of something. I have good stories that sound like lies, but they really happened. I'm the same way, dude. A lot of my stories I realize sound like bullshit, but they happened. Dude, the story I've got that sounds the most like bullshit, sometimes I don't even know if I believe it. Sometimes I wonder if there's any chance that it could just be a dream that I just vividly remember, but it can't be because I remember it not as a dream. I remember it, dude. I remember it, dude. Okay, so I was driving. Well, frankly, I was driving to get some pussy. I'll just be honest with it. Lesbian shit. I was like gallivanting across the country to get some pussy. And I was in Blytheville, Arkansas on I-55. And if you don't know anything about Arkansas or like the far southeast region of Missouri, dude, there's nothing out there. The area of I guess you could call it like, it's not technically the Delta area because that's technically an area of like Mississippi in the deep south, but it's kind of like the floodplain of the Mississippi. And the floodplain of the Mississippi is massive, 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 massive. As big as you think it is looking at maps, you probably have an underestimation of its size. You're probably not looking at the full floodplain. That river, allowed to do whatever it wants to do, has a crazy, like an absurd amount of ranging space. And the Mississippi used to change course pretty regularly, just like the Missouri did. I argue, actually, that the Missouri is a better representative of the Mississippi's beginning than Minnesota, but that's another point entirely. That's just whatever, not the point. Anyway, the Mississippi's fucking overall fucking plain, where it could go if it were allowed to go wherever it wanted to go, is massive, 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 massive. And I-55 is plotted through a big part of it. And I remember I was driving, and I noticed on, like, through my windshield, just scores of these red dots moving through the night sky. And at first I thought it was like some weird display thing, like maybe I turned on a weird light, because it was only a couple of months after I'd gotten my first car that I was buying on payments. It was really new to me and everything, so I wasn't sure about all the features. First I thought it was some kind of weird light. I figured out, no, it's not coming from the car. So I pulled over, And I got out, and I swear to God, y'all, the sky was full, literally full, of these slowly moving red lights that, let's see, I was going southbound. They were moving east, like southeast. Just a bunch of red dots. Just no sound, you know. I couldn't hear anything, and I didn't, like, all I could hear was literally just, like, my own car running and the, like, the silence of the fucking empty, endless cornfields that had been cut down for harvest season already. It was an eerie fucking thing. I tried to get some video of it, and I've never been able to find the video, which is kind of weird. I don't know, dude. It's fucked. It's fucked, dude. It's fucked. It's so fucked. I wish I could find that video so fucking bad. I would do anything to find that fucking video. Oh my god, I'd fucking do anything to find that fucking video. Anything. Back to normal, a little off, but we here. Okay, well, unfortunately, I'm going to have to sleep, so I don't have to. Yeah, that's fair. Well, we've hit 2 hours, so I'm going to go ahead and go as well. Thank you guys for hanging out. It's been real. It's been fun. It's been real fun. I got to go. If anybody wants to, I posted my channel wish list on the channel description, and my birthday is in just a few days. If you're considering getting something for my birthday, if you've ever thought about it, consider giving the channel wish list a look. And yeah, I think that's the only shameless self-plug I have left for tonight. Otherwise, good night, y'all. I will see y'all around later.